What if one of the biggest royal controversies of the year wasn't about a glittering state banquet, a family feud, or a dramatic public appearance, but about money? More specifically, the billions tied to the sovereign grant and the intense scrutiny surrounding how it is managed. Recent discussions have once again placed the finances of the British monarchy under a powerful spotlight. Court decisions, parliamentary oversight, and public accountability have all become central talking points as questions continue to be raised about transparency, governance, and the constitutional limits surrounding royal finances. Some online headlines have dramatically claimed that judges stripped Queen Camilla of power over the sovereign grant. But what is actually happening behind the scenes? And why has King Charles found himself facing renewed pressure at such a delicate moment for the monarchy? Let's separate the sensational headlines from the constitutional reality. The sovereign grant is the official funding provided by the UK government to support the monarchy's official duties. It pays for the maintenance of occupied royal palaces, official travel, staff salaries, and numerous ceremonial responsibilities carried out on behalf of the crown. Importantly, the sovereign grant is governed by legislation. It is not controlled personally by the king, the queen, or any individual member of the royal family. Decisions regarding its framework involve Parliament, the Treasury, and oversight mechanisms established by law. That distinction is often overlooked in viral social media posts. Queen Camilla has become one of the monarchy's most visible working royals since King Charles ascended the throne. Her schedule has expanded considerably, covering charity work, diplomatic engagements, literacy campaigns, and ceremonial appearances alongside the king. However, visibility should not be confused with financial authority. Constitutionally, there has never been public evidence that Queen Camilla independently exercises legal control over the sovereign grant. Nevertheless, critics frequently connect her increasing public profile with broader debates over royal spending. Every major renovation project, every palace repair, and every report concerning royal finances often reignites discussions about the role of senior royals. Those conversations intensified after several legal challenges and transparency cases involving public access to government information concerning royal finances and constitutional procedures. Although many of these proceedings focused on disclosure, accountability, and administrative practices rather than personal misconduct, sensational reporting quickly transformed complex legal developments into dramatic narratives about royal power struggles. That is where much of today's controversy originates. King Charles has long advocated for what he once described as a slimmed-down monarchy. Before becoming king, he repeatedly emphasized efficiency, modernization, and demonstrating value to taxpayers. Ironically, those very promises have increased expectations. Supporters argue that Charles inherited an institution already facing enormous financial scrutiny. Rising maintenance costs, inflation, aging historic buildings, and growing public demands for transparency have created difficult challenges that extend far beyond any single individual. Critics, however, argue that modern taxpayers deserve greater openness regarding how public funds connected to the monarchy are allocated. Every annual financial report becomes headline news. Every renovation project sparks debate. Every expenditure is carefully examined. Against that backdrop, even routine legal rulings concerning oversight or procedural accountability can quickly be portrayed as major constitutional defeats. That is precisely why headlines suggesting that judges stripped Camilla of power gained so much attention online. The phrase creates an image of dramatic courtroom scenes, constitutional crises, and personal humiliation. But constitutional law rarely operates that way. Instead, legal decisions generally clarify procedures, reaffirm statutory limits, or reinforce accountability mechanisms already established under existing legislation. For constitutional experts, those distinctions matter enormously. For viral headlines, however, nuance rarely generates clicks. King Charles now faces an increasingly delicate balancing act. On one side lies tradition, on the other lies modernization. Every decision is evaluated not only through constitutional principles, but also through public opinion. Polling over recent years has shown continued support for the monarchy overall, while also revealing growing interest in transparency regarding royal finances. That means communication has become almost as important as governance itself. Royal aides understand this reality. Buckingham Palace has increasingly released detailed annual financial summaries, explaining major expenditures and highlighting the official work carried out by members of the royal family. The objective is straightforward: demonstrate accountability while preserving the constitutional neutrality expected of the monarchy. Yet the challenge remains enormous. Social media often rewards outrage over explanation. A carefully worded financial report may receive modest attention. A dramatic headline suggesting royal humiliation can spread around the world within hours. Queen Camilla has found herself at the center of this media environment despite much of the legal debate, focusing on institutional processes rather than individual authority. Observers note that she has continued carrying out official engagements without publicly addressing many of the financial controversies circulating online. That silence reflects a long-standing royal communications strategy. Rather than responding directly to every claim, the palace generally focuses on continuing official duties. Still, silence does not always end speculation. In fact, it sometimes fuels even more discussion. Royal commentators regularly debate whether the institution should become more proactive in correcting misleading narratives before they dominate public conversation. Others argue that responding to every rumor would simply give those stories greater visibility. It is a difficult calculation. King Charles has also had to navigate another significant challenge: maintaining public confidence during a period of considerable constitutional change. The transition following Queen Elizabeth II's historic reign inevitably brought renewed examination of every aspect of the monarchy. Long-established practices that once attracted little attention are now frequently questioned. Financial arrangements are no exception. Legal oversight, parliamentary reviews, and independent auditing have all become part of broader conversations about how constitutional institutions should operate in the 21st century. For supporters of the monarchy, these reviews demonstrate that accountability mechanisms are functioning exactly as intended. For critics, they represent opportunities to push for even greater reform. Either way, the sovereign grant continues to sit at the center of one of Britain's most closely watched constitutional debates. And as those discussions intensify, every court ruling, every committee report, and every official statement is examined for clues about the future direction of the monarchy. Whether those developments truly amount to humiliation or simply reflect the ordinary functioning of constitutional oversight depends largely on how one interprets the facts. What is certain is that King Charles now finds himself leading an institution under unprecedented public examination, while Queen Camilla continues to occupy a highly visible role that inevitably draws attention whenever royal finances dominate the headlines. As the debate continues, one point remains clear. There has been no verified court ruling that personally stripped Queen Camilla of legal authority over the sovereign grant, because the sovereign grant is governed by statute and administered through established constitutional processes rather than by the personal discretion of the Queen. Headlines suggesting otherwise often exaggerate or misrepresent routine legal or administrative developments. For King Charles, however, perception can be almost as influential as reality. Every controversy surrounding royal finances has the potential to shape public confidence in the monarchy, reinforcing his commitment to demonstrating transparency, accountability, and responsible stewardship of public funds. Whether future reforms come through Parliament, updated legislation, or evolving public expectations, the monarchy will almost certainly continue to face close scrutiny over how official finances are managed. Buckingham Palace is expected to maintain its long-standing approach of allowing official reports and constitutional procedures to speak for themselves rather than responding to every sensational claim. Ultimately, the story is less about an individual losing power and more about how Britain's constitutional monarchy adapts to modern demands for openness and accountability. As King Charles continues to steer the institution through a changing era, the balance between tradition and transparency will remain one of the defining challenges of his reign.